Test that you can unmute okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Love is freely given, wants to freely be received. And all the love you poured on us can hardly be believed. And all that we can offer you is thanks. It's all that we can offer you is thanks. Now we stand in wonder of all your love has done. To hear your tale and offer thanks that we are not alone. Fill us with your spirit, make your people one. We can join your story, one talk through your Lord. Love is freely given, wants to freely be received. And all the love you poured on us can hardly be believed. And all that we can offer you is thanks. It's all that we can offer you is thanks.
Good morning. Please join me in a breath. Each Sunday, I remind us that we breathe together to gather ourselves in, to bring our thoughts from where we send them into the past, things we would like to change, into the future, things we would like to control, and gather our thoughts into just this moment so that we can be about this experience of building church together. I want to add to that reminder this morning the extra work that we are doing when we are here via Zoom, that we've been doing for more than a year now, which is connecting very intentionally with all the people who have gathered with us, whether they're in the Zoom room or on Facebook, and whether they're watching now or will watch later. There is sometimes maybe a bit of taking for granted the ease with which we can do that when we're gathered in a room together, right? We're just sitting next to the people and we can kind of feel them and experience them and see their face and their body language and all those kind of background cues that we have for being community together that lets us know what's going on. And it's different. It's different here on Zoom, that is for certain, and it is different to watch later. And also, And also, we are a prayerful people. And if you have any trust, belief, faith, whatever that word is that best describes that part of your spiritual life, if you have any trust in that prayerful life, then you also can trust just as much that we are connecting here in a different way. And so we breathe together to be intentional about that connecting, to be intentional about the connecting that allows us to build church from a distance in a way that I've been saying more and more, I think really impacts the world. Because here we are just kind of building this grid across the city and across states and sometimes across the planet. And so I'm glad to be part of that with you. I also each Sunday kindle some sort of flame. I think maybe a symptom of my spending a lot of time at home is that it often changes from week to week. So last week I had a different one of these little oil lamps and then I sold it. Friends, I will sell church from right around me, just in case you ever wondered. And so this is a different one. But just the same, a small flame kindled to remind us that that which is eternal within us, that we refer to as the light because there's no real language, that which is eternal sometimes feels dimmed because of the goings on of life. And so we come together to have it kindled again. Sometimes it's kindled because of something we receive. Sometimes it is kindled because of something we share. I have no idea the ratio of the two. It's hard to know, isn't it? If you are being kindled again to have your light shining brightly because of giving or receiving, the difference fades away. In 2017, I presented a series of Sunday mornings focused on what it would mean to be love's operatives. I was using operative as in spy during that series. What if we were all on secret missions, serving love in every way we could? What if? Except I think maybe it's not a what if. I think it is most certainly we are all on missions, some of them secret. It was a fun way to frame that idea. It was an invitation, I hope at least, for some folks to step into and explore that in real ways, not just a Sunday morning consideration. Today we will revisit this notion in the context of life right now. What would it mean to be love's operative as we prepare ourselves for what is about to begin in the world, as we prepare ourselves for what it means to be a people who have lived through pandemic together, as we explore what it means to be love's operatives, to be alive in a world where there is this constant cry for justice. Constant cry for justice. As we move in that direction, I want to be clear about something. The call to be love's operative is not necessarily a heroic call. It is not necessarily a heroic call. To believe ourselves the hero of every story in our lives is to center ourselves instead of whatever that secret mission is that we are on. It requires us to wear blinders sometimes to the truth when the truth becomes inconvenient. Terry Pratchett puts this rather succinctly and wonderfully, in my opinion at least, in these lines from his book Hogfather. He writes, "And then Jack chopped down what was the world's last beanstalk, adding murder and ecological terrorism to the theft, enticement, and trespass charges already mentioned. And all the giant's children didn't have a daddy anymore. But he got away with it and lived happily ever after without so much as a guilty twinge about what he had done, which proves that you can be excused for just about anything if you are a hero, because no one asks inconvenient questions." Terry Pratchett does have a certain way with biting satire that invites us to understand a story differently. To be in service to love, we must ask inconvenient questions. We must be willing to dive wholeheartedly into being background characters when we may most want to be the main character and the hero. As we move further into the morning, let's take a few moments to greet each other in the chat function here on Zoom and in the comments on Facebook Live. As part of that greeting, please share, if you feel comfortable doing so, something that you have recently done for the first time since the start of the pandemic. If there's nothing that holds that title for you, then something you did that was good and well that you haven't done at least for a long while. I went to an actual coffee shop recently, and I sat right outside and I had coffee at a table. For the last year and a quarter, it's just been chock full of nuts in the living room or the dining room or the kitchen by myself or with the dog or with Frank. And so it was quite lovely to go to a place where someone like went with my coffee. And so I did that for the first time. I look forward to seeing in the chat what you did, what you have done. As you continue to do that, whether it's in Zoom chat or Facebook Live, and I'll remind you repeatedly, I love when you do it in the comments in Facebook Live because it allows that easy connection across time as other people are watching the video later, and then they can see and connect with you kind of asynchronously. As you continue to do that, I'll remind you, as I have been, that all the things that are happening at church, which right now is a pretty just consistent hum of regular activity virtually, you can find out about all that on Facebook at the Church Within's Facebook page under the Events tab. You can also read that in the weekly email that comes out on Fridays. And you can sign up for that at thechurchwithin.org if you haven't already. If you've signed up and you're not getting it, Gmail pushes it into promotions, I think, because it comes from that kind of service. It might go into your junk mail elsewhere, and you just have to move it out and try to teach your email how things work. Good luck. Good luck. Email is not that quick at learning. The other thing that I want to share today is earlier this year, or maybe last year, who cares? We started a relationship with the Indie Food Co-op to allow donations to go through there that then would come to the pantry. And we're going to end that relationship only because logistically it has proven to be really difficult because of needs for refrigeration and when are deliveries available and when's a person there to receive the delivery. And so it was a really great idea and experiment that might reemerge as the pantry finds new space and new place to live into that can be their permanent home as we prepare to move back into our space and make it church again. We'll see if that changes, and it would be wonderful because it really was a lovely kind of support local farmers, support small business, support the pantry. So you'll note if you've been giving that way that the link is not working in the way that it was before, and you can always look up No Questions Asked Food Pantry on Facebook to see what their needs are and how best to give to them. But I did want you to know that that's shifting right now. Let's take a breath. Let's allow ourselves to hold what we see folks celebrating and sharing, even if it's the ability I just read to go to a funeral, right? Which what a shift in tradition and practice and in holding we've had around grieving in this time. And so some celebration to be able to be safely with each other as such things arise. We breathe in the knowing that all of these shifts and all these things that we're starting to do, or as Marsha pointed out, just do with this kind of palpable sense of relief, like, oh yeah, I'm fine, it's fine. Let's let all of that move through us as we move into a time of meditation and prayer, first with music from Mark Proctor and then words from Greg Van Noy.
There goes how life is like a magnet, positive and negative, pulls me either end. Try to stand middle ground with no regret. Shouldn't we go positive with the love that you said? There can be no such thing as good if there is no such thing as bad. Wouldn't we choose so love if we could? Just conquer every fear we ever had. Past and future life depends upon the present. What we learn from experience tell us how to act. We want to be our best with every gift that is sent. Loving is the way to be, no one can deny that fact. There can be no such thing as good if there is no such thing as bad. Wouldn't we choose show love if we could? Just conquer every fear we ever had. Wouldn't we choose show love if we could? Just conquer every fear we ever had.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you all. At the church within, we meditate to bring ourselves closer to the God self within, to calm ourselves, be in touch with that inner light. So if you're so inclined, close your eyes, get comfortable in your seat, keep your feet flat on the floor, ground yourself, and take a deep breath. Breathe in the life, breathe in the love, calm your mind, go to that place of transcendence, that place where you let ego drift away and you can be in contact with the greater good. This breathing will help facilitate melting away the worries, problems, that you can focus on the love that we share amongst each other, the love we feel for family, friends, acquaintances, such as you parishioners. Just breathe and relax. As those thoughts bubble up, let them slide away. Gently bring yourself back. At the church within, we're founded on prayer. We all require prayer at times. We all share prayer at times. So if you're in need, somebody to pray with, somebody to help you along, we'll be glad to help. You can check in at the Church Within Prayer Network. Thank you.
Love's operatives are. In 2017, during that series that I mentioned earlier, I had a list of sentences that began with those words. Love's operatives are. The sentences laid out some of the characteristics of love's operatives. That entire series predicated on one foundational truth, that is this. I need you to understand this first and foremost and above all. You are love's operative. You, specifically, not as in the general you of people on a screen in front of me or the general you of the population. I mean you, uniquely you. You are love's operative. Whether or not you act on that is an entirely different matter. The reality is, though, you are love's operative simply by the nature of your being alive. I don't think any of us here are operatives in the kind of usual sense, and if you are a spy, you've kept it a good secret from me, which I suppose you would. I like to use such fiction as a spy story, though, as a tool to help understand our nonfiction lives, insofar as I believe we have nonfiction lives. To be an operative for love is to be focused on a mission given to you by love. I often ask myself this question and offer it to you as an invitation to wonder in a moment when you are considering what might be the next best action for you, the best next action, what that might look like, to wonder, what would love have me do? What would love have me do? It's a simple question. Receiving the answer sometimes takes a little bit of consternation. If you allow the answer to come clearly, though, not through your filters or your defenses, not through the interpretation of your inner critic who would ask you why you think you have anything to add or offer in any given moment, and not through that part of you that simply wants to hide, what you might just find is that love does, in fact, have something for you to do in that moment. We'll not be revisiting that list of ideas from 2017 that followed love's operatives are. Any operative worth their salt knows that what worked in one time and place won't necessarily work in all times or places. Operatives adapt. I will tell you, love's operatives are most definitely curious, audacious, and generous. They are courageously so, in fact, and so. As you move into your work as an operative just now, may you be courageously curious, audacious, and generous. When considering the spy life, it's safe to say that James Bond is amongst the most famous examples many of us would come up with. While he's the focus of all the books and the movies that we've read or watched about 007, we know that he is but one of many spies, and he works for someone else. When we read in those stories, what we read in those stories, what we see in those films is the unfolding of his work to accomplish the mission he's been given, and that might trick us into thinking that the stories are about him. They are not. None of it is really about him. It's simply the telling of how he accomplishes said mission. Not the only mission, probably not even the most important mission, and certainly not truly on his own. I realize that might seem like a strange nuance to consider. It's important. When we make the work about ourselves, we get in our own way. We become unable to serve the work, and we fail the mission. If we become so concerned about who we are, how we'll be perceived, obsessing about ourselves and the story that is unfolding, and on, the work gets buried. To avoid this, love's operatives are not the heroes of their greatest work. They are sidekicks or even background characters doing a cameo appearance. It's not about you. It's about what you are here to do, maybe. It's about who you are here to be. You are here to love, and you are here to be love. You are here to love, and you are here to be love. Let's take a breath. You are here to love and to be love. Thomas Merton wrote, "Love alone can teach us to penetrate the hidden goodness of the things we know. Knowledge without love never enters into the inner secrets of being. Knowledge without love never enters into the inner secrets of being. Only love can truly know God as God is, for God is love." Let me tell you what I don't like about those lines. I feel very bold offering any critique of Thomas Merton. But what I don't like about those lines is that they make love a noun, a thing to be considered, something that is instead of something that is happening. They serve a purpose, though. I'm glad to have shared them. I'm glad to have received them myself. And there is a greater purpose beyond just that. These lines remind us that love, when we approach it correctly, is about living into the reality of the divine that has gravitas, a certain something, that experience that changes everything when we give ourselves fully to it. Merton also wrote, "Our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether or not they are worthy." Our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether or not they are worthy. That is not our business. And in fact, he writes, it is nobody's business. What we are asked to do is love, and this love itself will render both ourselves and our neighbors worthy. Held up together, those two collections of sentences from Merton give us a motivation to explore love as a thing, as well as this kind of requirement for what love would have us do. And suddenly, if we allow that into ourselves, this idea of being love's operative, if we're listening, if we're attending, shifts from being something cute and gimmicky to being something that is potentially life-changing. Our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether or not they are worthy. That is not our business, and in fact, it is nobody's business. What we are asked to do is to love, and this love itself will render both ourselves and our neighbors worthy. It's a pretty tall order. I bet you can immediately think of someone who, within the last week or two, being generous, you have struggled to want to love. Not just that you've struggled to love them, but that there's a struggle to want to love them. And I feel confident saying that to you because, if you said it to me, you'd win the bet as well. It is hard sometimes to look at the shenanigans of people around us and to want to see them as worthy of love for all kinds of reasons. Part and parcel, I bet. Also a safe bet, I bet. I'm betting a lot, not really a betting man, I'm not very good at it. I bet if you look back far enough, you can find a time when that someone you struggled to love was you yourself. That someone you felt was unworthy of love was you yourself. Thomas Merton also wrote in No Man is an Island, the beginning of love is the will to let those who we love be perfectly themselves. The resolution not to twist them to fit our own image. If in loving them we do not love what they are, but only their potential likeness to ourselves, then we do not love them. We only love the reflection of ourselves we find in them. That seems to turn us away from ourselves as the person unworthy of love, except that we also hold this idea, don't we, of who we would be if we were worthy of love. Who we would be if we were worthy of love. And we've created that image because of learned ideas from outside of ourselves, from all kinds of trauma imposed that said, if you do the right thing, then you'll be worthy of love. And then we create a list of the things we have to do, the way that we have to shape ourselves, our lives, our thinking, our words, every bit of us. I read this week that, I'm paraphrasing, the cost of conformity is that everyone will like you but yourself. All right, so this is not about our matching that held up image that is created not in the likeness of God. It is not about asking other people to be like we see ourselves or like we wish we were in that image. This is about loving others and ourselves as we are. Those we love, the phrase he uses, must grow to include all beings. It just has to. I wish it didn't have to, possibly more than you do. It would be so much easier, wouldn't it? Can't I just love one or two or three people really super well? Like, couldn't that be enough? No, Thomas Merton says it cannot. Thomas Merton says it cannot. And knowing that when he uses the word neighbor, I'm presuming you all know who Thomas Merton was. Maybe I should not. Thomas Merton was a monk, a Trappist monk specifically. He had a friendship with the Dalai Lama. They exchanged a lot of letters back and forth, met each other more than once. So Thomas Merton is this kind of guy, right? And so when he says neighbor, it's very much a word that he's using in the context of his religious life. And who is the neighbor? Well, everyone is. What a load of crap. What a load of crap. And so when he says that love renders our neighbor worthy, he means you. I'm sorry. He means you, and he means all the people that you know and that you meet. And I wish that he didn't because it's hard work sometimes. For love to be a force, though, for love to be a force in this world, for us to really be it, to really live it, we have to let these boundaries of separation fall away so we can recognize that even the person who is most different from us, not most difficult, let's be honest, the people who are most difficult are probably most similar to us. That's a whole other Sunday. The people who are most different from who we think ourselves to be, those people are part of us. They are part of our community. They are our neighbor. That's an ultimate experience kind of moment to recognize that with them, not just to think it, right? But to be it. And you've glimpsed it, I bet. You've glimpsed those moments. We're always aiming for that. Trusting that it can happen, we continue the work. I'm going to offer a practice for this week of considering love's operatives and what it means to be love's operative. And we're going to talk about it for at least another Sunday or two. And so today is an invitation to practice that I was thinking about this morning in the shower. You're welcome. All the good stuff happens in there. That this isn't even the first step. This practice isn't really a step. This is like that inhale you take before you say something, right? So this is the preparation to take a step. And so it seems small and simple and oh, Darren, is this? Sharon Salzberg teaches it. It's worth it. We can trust Sharon at all times. I shared this the first time I presented a series on Love's Operatives, and I'm doing so again today because Sharon Salzberg writes about this practice and teaches this practice of looking for the good in everyone, especially those who you might think have nothing good within them. About this practice, Salzberg says, I was first given this as a meditation instruction when I went to Burma in 1985, and I was doing a period of intensive loving kindness practice. One of the first suggestions my meditation teacher gave to me was, think of different people you have different feelings for, different kinds of relationships with, and see if you can find one good thing about them. So that's your instruction. Think of the different people you have different feelings for, different kinds of relationships with, and see if you can find one good thing about them. Salzberg writes, my very first thought was, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. That's what stupid people do, going around looking for the good in people. I don't even like people who do that, and so I'm not going to do that. And then she goes on, I was very far from home when I received that story. I was in a Burmese monastery when I received that instruction, and the nature of the teacher-student relationship in a very traditional culture like that in Burma is not one where the teacher suggests you do something and you say, meh, I don't feel like it. And so you do it. She goes on, so I did it. And it was so interesting because, of course, my fear had been that I was going to overlook the things that were really wrong. I wonder if you feel that the way I feel that. My fear had been that I was going to overlook the things that were really wrong and I was going to become conflict avoidant, and it wasn't at all like that. It wasn't at all like that, she says. I realized that if I just obsessed about everything that was wrong one more time, it wasn't onward leading in any way. There is enough of that. Friends, I'm doing that for you. I am doing it for you. You don't even have to do it. I obsess about what is wrong enough times for the lot of us. I will continue that service for you, but only for an hour a day. That's the limit I'm giving it. That's more than enough. She said, I realized that if I just obsessed about everything that was wrong one more time, it wasn't onward leading in any way. But if I could find one good thing about somebody, I actually felt a sense of connection to them, of kinship with them, so that I could directly and honestly look at what was difficult. But it was almost like from a different place instead of across this huge gulf of separation. I even thought of somebody I really found incredibly obnoxious. I think in a very reasonable way. I love Sharon Salzberg. I thought they were obnoxious, and I think it made good sense. She says, I think he was pretty obnoxious, not just to me. But I have this memory that came up in my mind of once having seen him do this incredibly gracious, kind thing for somebody else that we both know. He did this act in the best possible way, so she didn't feel condescended to or put down or pitied in any way. He just did it so beautifully. So this memory came up in my mind, and then I thought, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that. That complicates things. It was easier when he was like all bad all the time. But life is complicated, she says. Relationships are complicated. We are complicated too. And so that is the practice for this week, to find the good. To find the good in people of different relationships that you have different feelings about. And I want to tell you why. For many of us, since last March, year and a couple months, I'm tired of counting very specifically. In this time, a lot of people who we see and know in the world now only exist in our minds. right? There are religious texts that will tell you like, oh, you're just imagining all these people around you. And I don't think that's a real thing. I think it's just a way of understanding, right? It's a key in a lock, like I'm projecting onto them. That's a very difficult thing to kind of wrangle when you're with someone all the time, because they seem to very much be what you think them to be, but we haven't seen each other for so long, and we've all become these like two-dimensional busts, you know, shoulders up ideas. If we are to truly move together forward, if we are to truly move together forward into whatever else is next, we have to reestablish kinship with the person in the world, not only the person in our thoughts. And I think the best way for us to do that is to start compiling these lists of the good in people. The good in people. Start remembering them. If you decide to write it down and make a physical list, kudos, right? Refer to it often. Start with the folks who you're just like, oh, they're so easy. They're so easy to love. And then the folks who you just haven't seen for a while and who you might think, gosh, I've made it this long. Did we have a friendship? We did. You did. And this is the nature of being isolated to some degree from people, because our breath is endangering us and endangering others, right? And so make those lists mentally on paper, the good that you remember about them, and let it draw us together so that when we choose to be together, it is because we're going towards something beautiful and good. Let this be your practice, to find the good, to love the complicated nature of relationships and of people, and to allow yourself to abide in becoming love in this world. That's your secret mission. Spoiler alert, I just told everyone it's not a secret anymore. Be curious about the people you consider. Have the audacity to challenge your dominant story about them. Be generous in your remembering or recognizing some good in them. They may be as obnoxious as Sharon Salzberg's friend. That doesn't negate the good in them. And we do this, all of us, in courageous ways, meaning that we do it from our heart. Do it from our heart. Our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether or not they are worthy. That is not our business, and in fact, it's nobody's business. What we are asked to do is love. And this love itself will render both ourselves and our neighbors worthy. That means you. So it is. Amen.
Love is seeking me. It is peering through the windows of my mind. Love is seeking me. I've heard that what it seeks, it always finds. I can smell its holy fragrance like a flower grown in heaven, or the perfume of a morning at first light. Feel its gaze upon me, should I run as I have always done? Dare I turn and look into love's eyes? Love is seeking me. I feel its gentle press upon my face. Love is seeking me. I wonder if I'll die in its embrace. My heart so long in prison is stirring at the thought that I might be someone who's worthy of God's love. Could it be that I am dreaming of a world that is impossible? Self who never sinned and never was. Love is seeking me. Feel its tender presence all around. Love is seeking me. I think that I am ready to be found. I will turn and look upon the one who is the source of everything, claims me as his own beloved child. Surrender to the truth of love. Feel myself made new by love. Cradled in love's sweet eternal smile. Love is keeping me safe beneath its wings of peace. Love is keeping me, and in its light I find reality.
Love is keeping me. Thank you yet again, Mark, for a Sunday of the perfect songs, to Greg and Mary for doing all the computing so that Greg could get here and do meditation and prayer this morning, and Margie for mastering Zoom, the Zoom master, and for all of you who made time and space in your life to gather on Zoom, especially if it's another Zoom for you this week, on Facebook Live or later. This is how we do the work together. And I'm glad to be doing it with you. In just a moment, Margie will share the offering prayer, and I hope you will say those words right out loud as we pray together. Then we will have the closing song. All people are holy, all bodies are holy, and I hope you sing it loud. And the less you know the song, the louder I hope you sing. And then the closing prayer before we move into the breakout rooms. Those breakout rooms, as I just keep reminding, are part of our work of building and maintaining kinship at a distance, so that we arrive together saying, oh my gosh, tell me about that thing that you said was going to happen this week, so that we can hold each other's lives as part of our lives, as part of our experience. And so let's take a breath and move into the offering prayer. Creator God, all that I am and all that I have comes from your limitless supply. I am an open and willing conduit through which your good flows. I share all that I have as you direct. Love, friendship, prosperity, peace, abundance, and joy are gifts that I share and receive. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. Amen.
All people are holy, many past one God. All people are holy, only God is real. No matter who you are, no matter where you've been, let's gather together and let the Spirit in. All people are holy, many past one God. All bodies are holy, only love is real. Only love is real.
May the peace of God go before us into this glorious week, and may the peace remain wherever we have walked. Peace above us and below us. Peace to the right and to the left. Peace within and without. Peace in the face of everyone we meet. Peace in the words to everyone we greet. Amen. Thank you again, everyone, for being here today. For those who joined via Facebook live stream, thank you so much. I'm about to end the stream. Blessings on your whole self and your whole week.